7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Call this meeting to order.
Good.
Done. Okay. First thing on the agenda, discuss the comments for submission to the Bureau of Indian Affairs regarding the newly released environmental impact statement, the draft. That's a draft.
Are we being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Green light's on.
LakeCAM.
Yes.
Okay.
Where was I?
I'm
For
sorry.
the newly released draft environmental impact statement from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. Fee to trust acquisition. Okay. Any comments?
I do, Don. I was not at the last meeting, so I just want to do a quick, make sure I understand what was discussed at the last meeting. I don't know if an email that I forwarded to you to send to Rita was sent to the board or not.
Yep, I did forward it to
Did we
Rita
get a copy of that?
from,
I'm not sure.
No.
No.
About,
this one? What
No.
was this? No.
this one.
Oh, I don't have that one.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes,
No, I didn't receive
This one.
anything of that size.
Yes,
that one. Grab the
You
wrong
didn't forward
one.
it?
Yep.
Oh,
I
asked
thought I
Don-
forwarded it.
I was
did,
hoping Donna would forward it to you, because
Yeah,
I'm not sure the
I thought I
protocol.
forwarded it to you.
No.
No, okay.
No.
I have some copies here, I don't know if I have enough, but just
Might
in
have
an
enough
effort
for
to
me.
sort of get the thing kick-started here tonight, let me try and pass that around to
Sure.
everyone out.
Sure.
I was watching, I didn't attend the last meeting, so I watched it on LakeCAM, and,
You're welcome.
thanks everybody. But as we talked about, mitigation, as we talked about
Yep.
responding, to the DEIS document, I did a little running through some notes I had, and I came across this document that it wasn't discussed at that meeting, and I think it's really, really important to, so we're all on the right page, and if I'm on the wrong page, please tell me I'm on the wrong page, okay? But this wasn't discussed, and this to me is the sum and substance of our Lakeville's opportunity for mitigation with the tribal casino in Taunton. And I'll draw your attention to the last paragraph by Steve Crosby on page 2, which basically summarizes, in my opinion, what our opportunities for mitigation may be in the future if this thing is ever developed. And I'll just give you a minute to look at that, and then we can chat about it.
Right.
I don't remember reading this ever.
So what I was piecing together here in between our last meeting and now, or when I sent that email, I was hoping it would be forwarded so you could review it. But Steve Crosby was responding to a letter that he wrote to Donna on April 26th.
Yeah.
This is dated May 2nd.
Way back.
To clarify what he had sent to you in writing on the 26th, which was not really accurate. And this is the attempt to put accuracy to that based on the new compact that was in negotiation at the time, which is the compact that we're presently operating under, okay? The original compact had some different ambiguities. The second compact, after the first one was refused, clarified a number of things, particularly as they relate to this 12.2 in terms of mitigation and surrounding communities. And I thought this was the sum and substance, in my opinion, of where we as a community will have avenues for mitigation if this is ever developed, as it sits right now, based on the fact that the second compact has been approved and everybody's approved it, that this sort of speaks of, in my opinion, where we have opportunities to go. And I bring this tonight only because I want to precede the discussion on the DEIS, although I think it's valid and I think we have to submit something, that there's probably not a lot of teeth going to be in anything we submit to change anything or do anything. And I just think I want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. So that's that. Anybody, I don't know.
I went to,
Just say one thing, when
Yep.
I did get the original letter to Donna, that we sort of all remembered, and then the subsequent letter back in May of 2013, you all did get a copy of this.
Yes, and that's where I got this from, Rita. I got it from what you had forwarded me. And that to me sort of streamlines the process as the town of Lakeville is concerned with regard to potential mitigation opportunities.
So, what do we think are, now that it's a separate compact than the original one that was discussed in this, correct? Because the other one just got ratified last week.
This letter dated May 2nd deals with the one that was ratified.
Yes.
Yes.
The one that was just ratified?
Yeah.
Okay. And second part of my question is, so we would look for, mitigation not from the tribe, we would be looking for it from the gaming commission in the state?
That's exactly how I read this.
Okay, that's how I was reading it.
And
Just
in
wanna
fact,
make sure.
Joe had mentioned in the last meeting, a regional concept, and this addresses this in the second paragraph on page 2, addresses potential regional concept for setting up a committee based on, neighboring communities
Yep.
in the region and all that kind of good stuff. But the sum and substance of this is, I think any mitigation opportunities we have is gonna come from the state, not from the tribe.
Yep.
Right.
And how, if we have this kind of floating definition of surrounding community, how can the state be deciding yay or nay on whether or not you are a surrounding community?
Well, the last paragraph, Joe, addresses that. It says, because there's not now an
Right.
approved operative compact, commission has not issued regulations on how it would determine surrounding communities. That hasn't been determined yet. So all that is sort of, I relate to, I grew up in Fall River, and I used to go to the Y, and we'd do some boxing and stuff. And you ever shadow box?
Shadow
Yes,
boxing.
yes.
That's what this is. We're shadow boxing. It's something that.
Didn't we have
that's
a letter from the state somehow saying nay to Lakeville as a surrounding community somewhere early on in this
That
process?
wasn't for the
Yes.
Taunton, that was for the
Early on.
Rainham.
Early
Doc,
on,
that
there
was
was
for
a
the-
statement made relative to the Indians that surrounding communities would not be considered. Then subsequent to that, and this is from the Mass Gaming Commission, they sent something out saying, no, that was a mistake.
That was just the tribe's take on it, not the state's take on it, that surrounding communities were not
Right.
something. I remember it being the difference between a tribal statement and a state statement.
What Stephen Crosby does in this letter is clarifies that, because there was an original compact that didn't address it quite properly. The second compact does, and this is his correction of a letter that he sent to Donna. So we should all be on.
And
The
when
same
he's
focus.
no longer a commissioner, does that, this still apply?
Well, the compact's been signed.
Well-
The compact is a legal document.
Well, he makes too much money to get quit.
I was just gonna
Too much
say,
money to quit.
how secure is Chairman Crosby's
He's not.
position these days?
He's not.
Well, I don't know. That's sort of a different issue, but
Yes, it is.
That,
The
it's still
compact
the
is the
same
compact.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
organization.
and the document, the wording in the compact is referenced here in 12.2. That is what everybody's operating under now. And that clarifies potentially our role as a surrounding community, if and when and however and all those kinds of things which are still undetermined.
So we should just be taking the same paragraph, putting it on our letterhead and sending it back to him and saying that we hope that you're gonna be following the guidelines that you set in this document.
Well, I wouldn't say that, Scott, because what I thought, in discussing submission for the DEIS, which is an environmental thing that the federal government's doing, the conversation at the last meeting was to submit something indicating our concerns as a potential surrounding community, and at least submit something addressing some of those major areas that we've all talked about a number of times, so they can have in writing. Okay? Now, what I also did, because I'm not gonna be in town after tomorrow, I'm going away for some time, and I thought there was some discussion about submitting questions or items that I would collate and give a letter to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I wanted to sort of jumpstart that, because after tonight, I'm not gonna be able to do any of that, okay? So what I did is I took the letter that Rita had written, a very good letter, identifying some major issues that the town had. And Rita, you had written that letter to, give me a minute, somebody here in Massachusetts. And I cut and
have that
pasted a
here.
lot of stuff from that letter. I formulated at least a starting point that I think addresses our agenda item number 1 tonight, and what we may submit to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And what I would do, what I just passed around is something that can be changed and edited and discussed as we have discussed it, so that maybe I could forward that email and that document to somebody else on the committee to finalize what we actually submit. I think what you've got in front of you is certainly a good start in where I was thinking we would be going tonight. And we can change it however you want, certainly, but I'm not gonna be around to be the guy to do it, is what I'm saying. So I wanted to sort of give everybody a jump start on that, and at least give you that as a starting point. And quite frankly, it addresses the major issues. In my opinion, it could be, with some editing maybe, can be submitted as is. Just somebody sign it, put it on town letterhead, and it's pretty much, I think, good to go. I don't have a copy for you, Rita, but I only brought so many of these.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
I would like to suggest that in light of the article that was published in the Sunday New Bedford Standard Times about the projected increases in population of the towns in southeastern Massachusetts, that paragraph 2 mention that, because this is will be a growing area, and more vehicles will be added to this transportation mix.
Rita, that's a cut and paste of a letter that you sent on August 10th in 2012 to MAPA. Okay, so a lot of that's all yours. Everything there is yours. I took out some stuff that I didn't think, it got a little maybe too detailed with specific roads and that kind of stuff. And basically what I did is I changed, in your letter, the ENF to the DEIS, okay? So there was a little bit of a cut and paste operation going on there when I did this, but it's, most of it applies, I think, and there may be some grammatical things that need to be cleaned up there, I don't know.
On the transportation, side, they did expand the study area to include the Lakeville intersections that we were concerned about. I couldn't find any data on those intersections, but the document says they've expanded it to include, and they are now on the list and on the maps.
But they don't have any counts, right?
I couldn't
yes,
find
I-
anything,
Yeah.
but they do say it's part of the expanded study area.
I perused the executive summary, that was sort of enough for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the 800-page document. And when I looked through the executive summary, I didn't see anything to address some of the things that Rita had addressed in 2012. So I figured they were all germane to anything we might be able to supply the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
I think number 6 is the only time that I've actually seen the fact that Assawamsett is actually in Lakeville. In all the documents, it just said Assawamsett.
Well, it's actually Assawamsett is Lakeville and Middleborough.
In Middleborough,
So I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
But it never even said that. It just said the pond complex.
keeps saying that,
when it
yeah.
referenced it didn't have where it was actually located. So I think
Well,
that's a very important.
Deep in the document, it does
It did.
say that the treatment plant is in Lakeville. And, cause I did find that.
It
'cause
did,
that
but
was
yeah,
one
the
of things
executive
that-
summary, everything just had the pond complex just listed. Yeah.
Now, the other pond too is Elders, because that's where the water goes before it
Yep.
goes into the creek.
And that's the
That's like trying to explain to the Boston Globe, Channel 5 and Channel 7, that the MBTA station is in Lakeville.
I think it's well done. The only,
I didn't write it, Rita did.
right, the only one that I thought, I'm just not too sure how we get involved in 4, which doesn't really have anything to do with Lakeville, which is the rail line, the separation of the active rail lines regarding a water park and things
And
like that.
the document.
I just don't know how that
does
involves
talk
us.
about-
Does it?
Yes,
Okay.
how it's crossed,
Right.
And number 4, I think, Linda, you brought up.
Well,
yeah,
About that rail line.
yeah,
But-
back
but
in
it-
the old document, yeah.
right, but is that got anything to do with Lakeville if we're writing this from the town of Lakeville? No.
So that could be edited out.
Number 4, I think, would be edited out. I think 3 would stand, but I think 4 would come out, but the other stuff seems to be, pretty good. I mean, Joe's comment about the mitigation for public safety, blah, blah, blah. I think it had Lakeville's population going up by 10% on the low number and 17% on the high number. But we were number 3 in the growth.
Do we wanna add a line about the schools?
Is there
Because one of the
anything?
things that they are giving a large chunk of money to the Taunton school system, but they're saying the other children will be so spread out over the region that it won't have an impact, and we don't know that that's true.
Correct. Replace number
You know,
4.
when I did this, I was, in the background, I was thinking of the first document we just looked at, that I don't know what difference any of this is gonna make. And rather than spend all kinds of time analyzing, digesting, and, doing that, I just thought, well, at least that's a starting point for tonight. Somebody can edit it, we can add to it, we can take away from it, but it's pretty much ready to go, considering it's gonna be there by Friday, right? Was it gonna be mailed? It's gonna be delivered or received?
I usually email it, I do both, I
Okay.
will mail it and I'll email it.
Okay, so, sort of, I mean, it must be received no later than, 17.
Right. I mean, I thought it well done. I think only number 4 should be edited out. If
Should
you,
it be replaced
if-
with
if
something
you- if you-
with education?
well, you talk about it, I'm trying to think of,
Is it mentioned anywhere else?
I don't see it.
no.
Would be a good
The impacts-
suggestion, yeah,
impacts to
impacts on
schools,
schools.
You
For
could,
number 4.
right, you could make a number 4 and talk about the latest study by Serpent and who was the other guy?
Callahan or something like that,
So-
some other.
something like that.
Yeah.
That the expected growth of the population of Lakeville is going up between 10 and 17%.
Would it oversimplify things to add a map to show exactly where the casino is and where the lines of East Taunton and Lakeville?
I thought we could at least put the mileage, we're less than 3 miles from the entrance to the,
Because I don't think that's,
casino.
I know it's implied and you can look at it, but I don't think that's really as easy as if you really look at how much closer we are than, say, even the center of Taunton is.
Or the far side of Taunton,
And the
which
far
is,
side of
you
Taunton
know.
that is actually getting things. Like, I know, visuals are very helpful, I've always found, when you're just,
Isn't there a map?
The maps
And-
are in the book, yeah.
there is a map.
There
You
are
know,
maps
that-
in there, yeah.
That is a
That's-
good suggestion, because all the help and information you can provide to people looking at this would help. If they could look and see, well, the other side of Taunton is practically in Rhode Island, whereas part of Lakeville is, as Linda
Yeah.
said, less than 3 miles away,
And
2.87 miles away.
Maybe have it a little bit where, here's our school system, where most of our children are, and, how
On a
close.
major highway.
On a- yeah. And here's how they get there.
And the 2 Connecticut casinos have shown that the children that come in aren't spread evenly around. They're clustered.
Now, let me ask another question. School choice,
We have it with Taunton.
Okay,
So
so-
that you could
so
come
as
to the
s-
Lakeville school
so
system.
saying, all things are created equal, do you think you would send your child to the Taunton school system or to the Lakeville school system?
One would think that the Taunton people would already send them to Lakeville and they don't.
Right.
So that, I mean,
They don't get
There's
they don't get the
accessibility
transportation,
is
that's,
there's not a lot, you have to find your own way to, your parents have to take you to school. So I would say,
But that's
You
for
would
people
think
that
that-
already exist in the school system that have grown up through the schools.
Right.
That's not for people that are moving into the area, which is a completely different dynamic.
but if they are the poor people,
They're not gonna move.
poorer people that are gonna work the casinos and the floors, then perhaps they would not spend the time. I would
Yeah.
certainly,
See, I look at it at the point
car
of what I
ride the
would do.
child to
Yeah,
Lakeville.
It would be
but
different
that's
if my
really-
kids started in
yeah,
Taunton and
that's
they wanted
really-
to be with their
right.
friends
But
and
there are
stuff
going to
like
be
that.
some
But-
upper level people coming into
Oh,
this
clearly,
area.
well, hopefully they
and-
move to
and-
Lakeville. I'm gonna post my found for
I don't know
sale.
why people think Freetown Lakeville's such a great school
But-
system.
But,
not.
We don't talk about that.
but,
It used to
You
be,
would
but
think that,
not
that
anymore.
would happen, but truly, the school enrollment is down over 300 in the last
Oh,
5
yeah,
years. So
we have
I'd be
discussed that.
happy if we got another 300 students in somehow. But you would think school choice would affect it, and it's not. We don't promote it.
Well,
I bet most of the people in
No,
Taunton don't know that they can come to Lakeville.
most of the
Yeah,
people
I
in
do.
Lakeville don't know they can go anywhere, so I can't imagine most of the people in Taunton know that they could come here.
But I think your point of the distance, you know, it's funny that you say that we're less than 3 miles, when the other statement could say is the downtown Taunton is probably 6 miles. We'd have to find that out, but it's probably 6
Yeah,
miles.
I would
Yeah,
assume it'd be that distance.
And you know, in your comment about high-level employees, if for every one of them that's in the office, there's gonna be 350 floor workers, and it's not gonna be that big an influx of upper-level people.
Most of
Well,
the people that work in casinos are part-time.
They're suggesting
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
expecting most of their employees to come from Bristol and Plymouth counties. They're not supposed to be coming in from outside.
But
Well,
certainly the
possibly they
managers
recruit
with,
the Chinese.
yeah, the managers with the expertise will come from outside the area. But probably
Yeah, they
90
transfer from other casinos.
95% of the
Yeah.
people will be regular workers, if you will. Should be. But I think the point's well taken about the mileage.
Mm.
And-
What
and-
was your comment about the Chinese?
No, I said if you look at Foxwoods, if it's a tribal casino, they don't have to conform to the labor laws or anything, they pay people what they want. And they actually recruited a lot of Chinese people to come in to do the service.
Full wild bus, you see buses
Yeah.
pulling into the two big Connecticut casinos, nothing but Chinese characters on the side.
The biggest casino being built in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, has 3,000 Chinese workers that have been there for 3 years building it.
Mhm.
They live like in a friggin'
Dormitory.
chicken coops.
Yeah, yep.
Chicken coops with air conditioners on the roof, that's it.
So we're gonna take out 4 and throw in some wording about school impact, right?
Schools, that,
Well, we say
it
something
can be
like
very simple, it doesn't have to be a whole
expected
bunch.
population growth is between 10 and 17%.
10 and
This will
17%,
have an
which
impact
will
on the
have to
Lakeville
have an
school
effect
system.
on our schools.
Period.
That's it.
Period, that's all it needs to
Yep.
say. And then we can add another item of the proposed entrance to the casino is 2.8 miles from the Lakeville town line.
And,
See attachment, and we can put a copy of the map.
and I wouldn't mind rubbing it in that the downtown Taunton is 6 miles away, I wouldn't mind that.
It's a good
I mean, they think that Taunton's being affected,
Yeah.
and I don't know, besides 140 and 79, you know, in those intersections, I'm not so sure
You could just
how
say,
much will be
No, but if
affected.
East Taunton had a separate vote like East Boston, that casino would not be there.
Right.
The people in Taunton, in the center of town, are mainly renters.
Yep.
They do not have the same level of commitment
Yep.
to, preserving anything or quality of lifestyle, and, they're temporary. So they voted for something that doesn't really affect them. It seems kinda unfair.
That was
And
unfair for the people
again-
from Lexington voting dog racing out in the
And
town of Rainbow.
every time we talk about effect, I have to keep coming back to what I discovered by many years on the road in a motorhome. Until the operation is in and going, you have no idea. I mean, again, you can be practically next door to, the water park, the resort, whatever, and not really be affected by it. And be quite a few miles away and have some serious negative impacts. You don't know until it's in. And then it's too late to be making the claim. You can't 2 years down the line say, oh my God, we're dying here. Too late. Too late. You have to just have to deal with it.
Ask Siri which way to go, and that's where our problems will be on those roads.
Yeah.
Whichever
Siri,
way
get
Siri
me to
tells
that
them to go, all of a sudden our roads will be slammed, because that's the way most people get places now.
Exactly, that's what I said, but just put that on, and how you get there, whether you come off of 495 if you're coming from the Cape and you're gonna take a little right at 79 there, or whether you're gonna continue down 105, and how are you gonna get on 79?
All depends who's
If they go by
GPS you're
Ted Williams
using.
Camp, it's not gonna be fun. But you could probably put that in your Garmin now and find that out.
Yep.
But I think you're right, I think just those two additions might be sufficient. It's great that someone was kind enough to write this before leaving town.
I have a
Who
blurb.
should I forward this to so that you can, excuse me, so that you can edit it? Should I
Does
forward it to you, Donna, or should I forward it to Rita, or should I
Can it
forward
go to me?
another member of the
Okay.
committee?
To me,
Send it to you?
so I can forget to do it.
Okay, so so what I will forward you tomorrow morning is that
Yes.
document, and then you can edit it and
Yep, I'll add, I
turn
think,
it on Town Station
we
or
just have to
whatever.
find the map in there
Okay.
that we would wanna use.
And I think you're very right, until it goes through and land into trust and you start to do that 12.2 section, if that's the proper section, then you're not negotiating anything anyways.
Correct.
The Indians don't get two hoops.
No,
Think so?
they don't.
I'll flip right to it.
Can I just ask a question about number 7? Linda, on, that, on the initial, plan, there was no comment on the natural resources. Now, in this DEIS,
Yes, but as with the rail crossing, it's resources in Taunton, so we don't really,
so it's the
Right.
natural resources of Lakeville, is that still
Well-
holds true, number 7?
yes, the only issue would be, the Walden Scenic, River for Taunton. Taunton is the watershed for Lakeville. Other than watershed issues, I don't think there's any comments that we can make.
And of course, that's tied in with number 6. I mean, if you're constantly having a much increased draw and replenishment on the ponds complex, that's obviously going to affect anything that's dependent on the water levels.
Didn't they just pass a new law on that this week? On water transfer from town to town? There's something about it in the MMA.
It's not town to town, it's out of
Watershed.
Yeah, and Taunton and Lakeville are in the
It's a
same
shared
watershed, so it
watershed.
isn't, that isn't an issue.
Well,
Right.
should
Well, unless
7
something has
remain?
passed that I'm not,
Huh?
I'm
Should
not
7
familiar with.
remain?
I don't think that's probably
I
In
think
there?
we could take it out.
It's kinda like a,
Well,
What?
I wouldn't take it out. You want to
No.
leave the whole concept of impact to natural resources in there. You don't have to be very specific, just another point of concern.
But the details are in the plan, so we can't say because of lack of details, without a more detailed plan, it's
Now it's
there.
detailed, right?
yeah,
Just doesn't pertain to Lakeville.
Yes,
Pertains-
it's basically Taunton, it's actually
Okay.
site specific.
well, what should we say?
Is the detailed plan that's in that, Linda, comment about Lakeville or
Yes.
Taunton?
It's
Let's-
about the site in Taunton, yes.
Well, then we just change this without a more detailed plan. It is impossible to comment on the impact to Lakeville's natural resources. Simple enough. Because that's not,
Or what if we
Dealt
just
with.
say it's not possible to comment on the impact of Lakeville's natural resources at
about
this
the-
time?
How about the full impact?
full impact, even better.
And not mention the detailed plan one way or the other.
Yeah,
We'll do the shadow box and that Mr. Crosby doing. It's well put.
You have a box? As a kid?
So,
You have a shadow box as well,
Grew up in Brockton, that's
Oh, there you go.
You ever see Crosby's car?
no. So this is 24.
Drives a white 5 Series
That's
BMW with
okay.
fuzzy dice hanging from the mirror.
There you go.
Every time he goes to a casino meeting, he puts up the fuzzy dice.
He is a 60s guy,
Barney.
50s, 60s guy.
With 140. Should be running parallel.
so, I can put what I've got in here on the proposed entrance to the casino is 2.8 miles from the Lakeville town line. This is closer than the 6 miles to downtown Taunton. See attachment. There.
Would that be a good map to use right there?
Pardon?
Someone's gonna confirm that mileage to the downtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Google Earth works well, there's a little ruler and you just draw a line and
Yeah.
it can tell you in
This is a
feet and
2-mile
inches
radius.
and meters, whatever you want.
Just to put in the address of the Silver City Galleria and 1 Taunton Green.
There you
That
go.
will give you,
Center of town.
I'd go right to City Hall.
That's the airport, right?
Well,
It's
that's,
close for a quarter of a mile.
you
I don't know
could,
what's
okay, you
called,
consider
yeah.
that the center.
I do, yeah.
temporary.
There's a sentence,
So this is not gonna show us, this is
Cotton
only
Green,
this is
you
a
mean
2 mile
rotary,
radius.
Cotton Green,
We're
you
right
come
in
out at
here.
the
I
end of
don't
it.
understand.
Here's the
Where?
airport.
In this paragraph, after APC, read that sentence and tell me, a resource that.
Today, over 200,000 residents rely on the Aswamsa Pond complex, a resource that has not been discussed.
Now they're over at Maxon School.
Yeah, there's kind of weird,
In-
clumsy wording there. There's not been discussed in for clean drinking
Just,
water.
I think just eliminate in.
Well, there's a period missing, I'm just wondering if somebody cut and pasted
That would be me.
That would be.
it incorrectly, or, I don't know exactly what you're trying to say here, but maybe we should go back to the original and,
Where'd you cut and paste from?
the
Read
original.
us?
I saw that earlier.
Let me see,
Yep.
I've got the original here somewhere.
Where's Rita's? Where's Rita's? I have Rita's.
You know, if we
That's
start
not-
having some more
that's-
paper, we could really save some trees.
Is this something for Rita Nelson? 'Cause
but you put the tree foresters out of business. It's all,
It's all unintended consequences, right?
I go back
and
to
we
my,
recycle,
I go back to my days at
Okay.
Boston College Graduate School, 67, 68, computers coming in, all we
That's what I
heard
use
was
as a template, okay?
the paperless society. It's all we were hearing, paperless society. And computers are responsible for killing more trees.
they can produce more and more
Oh,
quickly.
my lord, unbelievable.
But what's the green?
It's not gonna work.
Obviously, I took a lot of
Two
that
mile
out.
radius and we're
Yep.
just outside it.
Oh,
So
Yeah, like
they're probably
Linda
not
said,
gonna- they're
just a
probably-
Well, it
Google
doesn't need
thing
to
will.
be as detailed as that either, you kinda lose it because it's got so much detail in it,
yeah.
you know,
You wanna take a map of,
yeah.
it should say today over 200,000 residents rely on the
Google Map
Aswamsa
and
Pond
blow it up.
complex for clean drinking water.
What did I type?
There we go, yeah, take. Sure,
I don't know
That'll do
where
it.
a resource that hasn't been, I know where
That's
that
good.
Oh,
came
yeah.
from.
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
Someplace.
So just clean that up.
A previous cut or copy.
My computer has decided it's going to think for me and it
Oh,
will
yes.
insert
Yeah.
things or you'll go back to change something and instead of changing it in the paragraph you're working in, it's
Where's
3
the-
paragraphs below.
You only recognize it after you've printed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you wanna keep Linda's original, Rita's original letter?
Nope,
Linda?
if you'd like to have it, I think I have one
Okay.
already.
you might wanna include this in your
That
drinking water.
one?
This is the Aswamsa Pond complex right here, so.
Where's it? Does it show where's the?
The only, it doesn't give you a
It doesn't
feel
show
for
the
relationship
proximity
with
No,
to.
no.
So you need a smaller one,
Hmm.
a more,
It's the one that shows.
Yeah, we're just standing right here.
Yeah, and they do that on purpose.
make you buy another map.
No, they don't wanna show you the other communities that are
Yeah.
Well,
perfected.
this is the quad and.
No, 'cause this is the.
yeah,
Does it
that's the
even say
geodetic survey
Lakeville
map.
on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get really upset because they use that for Lakeville and, 2/3 of Lakeville
It's,
aren't really
it's,
on that
it's
map.
on there and it shows big hunk of Middleborough, right?
Yep.
Taunton's desperate to sell 300,000 gallons a day because their usage is down about 200,000 gallons through conservation and things like that,
Yeah,
and
and
the price.
it's always surprising.
Not just an allocation,
The original
they're,
letter
they're,
just went
they're
from
in use,
Aswamsa
200,000 gallons down. People don't have the money to pay the water bills, they watch
Yeah.
it.
Read that out.
Yeah,
We're
that's-
gonna
They
clean
watch
that
it.
up.
I just had a letter. What'd I do with it?
I was under the gun when I did that.
What's that map right there, Scott? that you got?
This is still blown up too far,
Too
because
far, okay.
it's,
On this number 1, we talk about we'll have on the region, don't we wanna say we'll have on Lakeville? Do we really wanna be fighting the region's battle, we wanna be fighting?
Or do you just wanna put the surrounding town of Lakeville,
I would
or-
say the scope does not
We're,
consider
we're,
the impacts
we're
this
representing Lakeville, we
project
could
will
say.
have on Lakeville.
We're representing Lakeville.
We originally said we'll have on our community as well as the potential impact on surrounding communities. Is my original.
I would name our communities and then say, and surrounding. but I
Okay.
think we should put out, I think we should.
Yeah,
you
let's
know,
use the
put
word
up there
Lakeville as many
Yes.
times as possible,
So
right?
they don't
right.
forget who we are.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I think you might wanna say adequately consider the impacts this project will have on Lakeville, because they do mention traffic flows.
But not in Lakeville.
Yeah, they do, on the DEIS they do.
I don't believe
I
that.
saw them last night. They had 1879, they talked about 495.
They listed
The
the
only thing they didn't talk about was 140 and 79, coming up that way to get to the casino.
I couldn't find the data. They mentioned the intersection as part of the expanded,
Want me to give this too?
study area. And they say, this is the intersection, but they didn't give you any
Gotcha.
details other than the fact that
They had
it's
some numbers in the boxes, and they were
So she has
supposedly
it.
some kind of traffic counts. It was in chapter 8,
Okay.
section 8.
But you're also gonna have an impact on Taunton Street, because that's gonna be a cutoff.
Absolutely, they mentioned.
And they're not,
Taunton Street.
they have mentioned, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they mentioned Middleborough. They've done, actually have, counts and things for Middleborough Avenue, which is Taunton Street, once it crosses the town line.
What do you mean, Taunton?
Middleborough Ave.
It-
Taunton Street
Middleborough-
changes to Middleborough Avenue.
In
It's
Taunton? Okay.
Yeah, I looked at the executive summary, and the executive summary doesn't talk about any streets in Lakeville.
No,
The main document,
The main document,
I didn't go
doesn't
down.
look at the executive section. You go to section 8.
I think
after that.
Maureen's right, however your navigation is put in from 495, that would be the key. Cause that's how they'll get there.
Or 195 is the case maybe if they're coming out.
Right, right,
'Cause
195, going 195, that's gonna tell you.
they'll might go 195 to 140, or they might go 195 to 24,
Right,
and then
right,
195, 24 to 495.
Well, you routinely see in print news and on television, some small town, some small community somewhere where all of a sudden there's 8 gajillion cars going down these little side streets because something was changed somewhere, some lights out of sync, they put in a warehouse somewhere, and all of a sudden, all these, clever consumers with their GPSs are figuring ways out. They punch up the screen and say, oh, look, I can go here. And all of a sudden, you get a little side street, tons of traffic. This is likely to happen here. But again, you cannot predict it.
This is
Can't predict
close.
it.
But what's happening with the
You got the
spaghetti
flip book right
straps
here, you
in
got-
Fall River
And that's a lot closer.
in '79? That was all closed down the last
They're
time I was
rebuilding
with
it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, but it
shifted
was
this map
closed,
just
and
down a little
A
bit.
little
They
bit,
didn't
yeah.
tell you it was closed
Oh, no.
before 24, before you could take 24
Right.
and go around. You end up driving
There's a
through
sign now. Now there's
Oh.
a sign.
Fall River.
Yeah.
Round
I did
and
that
round
once.
and round.
There's
did
a
it once.
sign now, but there
Yeah.
wasn't initially.
I did that once,
Yeah.
holy
Yep.
crap.
Yeah, look at how far it is to downtown. That's the center of Taunton right there. Wow.
That map, you found one?
Yeah, Scott found this thing here. This is pretty
Good.
good.
Two-person job on this thing.
Yes.
Wow.
That thing ought to have casters on it.
No, I know, I can see from here.
That's a good one.
Well, you got Buckeye Brook right here, you got
Does Taunton have one?
Soy State Park right here, you got 79 right here.
Now you got me
Okay.
thinking, too.
This is
So that
79,
would be a good
this is 79 going to
attachment.
140 right
Yeah,
here.
old agreements really,
The town line is
Because-
just
oh,
But it is an agreement.
this
it
side
is,
of.
it is an agreement, and they don't exceed it. This 300,000 gallons wouldn't exceed anything.
But it's an agreement
With the
between
old,
Taunton and
the
Lake.
old diner used to be.
Yeah.
Why don't we put in
No
this,
idea what name that
There
is.
might be some.
Put this like this, so you,
Taunton cannot provide water to the casino, proposed casino, because it's a separate nation. There's no provision for an international supply of water. Put it in there and see what happens. We're still talking 8 years down the road. But it's a sovereign nation, so that would be an international agreement.
It's like getting Capone on tax evasion right
And-
there.
And our original agreement doesn't allow for that.
Well,
Okay?
it would not,
And
it would
nobody
not,
will
not
comment
probably
on
not,
it
it
for
would
the
not.
next 10 years
No, there's something in
because they won't be
in the
building the casino for the next 10 years.
Indian agreements though about water,
But someday it could,
isn't there?
Well,
They might
it's a
have to
good-
come
it's a
to the
good point,
table.
Mark,
I think-
because
You mean
I
super
think
the
the original
document
agreement is
discusses
that the water use.
super water rights, is that what you're
Okay.
referring to?
Yeah,
You're right, there's a
not
sovereign
another
nation,
nation.
right.
That
And
becomes
Taunton
international.
will be getting the money for the water use
That's right.
of Lakeville's water.
That's an
Right.
interesting point.
That goes right up my butt anyways.
Yeah, me too. But
Where are we gonna wanna
the
put it?
point is that what Mark's saying is right. It's not for the benefit of Taunton, it's for the benefit of a sovereign nation. Well, Lakeville should get any money for the water.
We'll just hold the water, sorry,
At the
can't,
very least, we'll have the Secretary of State.
They might
Terry
hold things
stop.
up for 7 or 8 years in court.
Right.
Well, it could be a lawsuit
Yeah.
from the town of Lakeville.
It might,
In Middleborough.
They're very interesting.
right,
water
it
coming
might
out
be a
of
point,
that
it
water.
might be a point that,
yeah, they don't
just
have
a
to.
sub paragraph
Maybe
that
some
says,
investors will look at that, what we said, say, hey, wait a minute,
it,
scale that
Yeah.
off.
it might be right after, as part of 6,
the number about,
that,
yeah.
that there is no intermunicipal water agreement with a sovereign nation.
I'd throw in international.
Man.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally different, totally
Right.
different
Yeah.
than Taunton, than the city of Taunton. This will be a,
Whether
wanna
it's,
call it.
whether it's
The
true
city
or
of
not.
Taunton has water rights.
It's probably
City of
not a
Bedford
bad
has
idea.
water rights,
Right.
but
but sovereign
The
nation.
sovereign
But a
nation.
sovereign nation would not.
they can't extend off Taunton for the water
Yeah.
rights.
Unless the Wampanoags come back and say that belonged to them to begin with
Yeah.
anyways.
You took it from us
Wouldn't
anyways.
surprise me.
Say, Assawamsa belong to them.
So is that the city of Taunton cannot,
Well,
there is
we-
no
we can't
provision?
determine whether
Maybe
it's
we ought to hold
Can we
that.
say
and-
there is
Well,
no,
right, that,
No,
have
I
that
would,
agreement?
I would,
There's
I would
no-
phrase
Do
it
we
as a
have that
question.
Right.
I'm sure it's here
No, I
somewhere.
wouldn't,
know?
I'd make a statement.
Is there,
I'll make it a question.
is it
a protocol
possible
for-
for,
you know,
State.
I mean, Taunton can sell water to other communities, cause it does, it does.
It does.
As
So does the
does,
Dayton.
as does New Bedford.
All
But
we're saying-
communities are not,
all we're
but
saying
that's
is
not Assawamsa
Sovereign
Pond Complex
nation.
water.
Well, yes, it is.
I would keep
yeah,
it
They're not
real
selling it to
simple.
Dayton.
I would keep it real
There's
simple,
4 different
real
treatment
short.
plants for Taunton. There's 4.
Our agreement with the city of
This is
Taunton
just
to
one.
provide water does not allow.
they could divert
They,
all the
not to
water from all the
Rainham.
Water to be
others.
What's that?
They
supplied
don't to Rainham,
to
they
another
don't
nation.
to, it's not our water that goes up to Bridgewater?
It probably is our water that goes up to Bridgewater, yes. It definitely is.
So
We
they're
don't have to
selling
get
to another
involved. We don't
community.
need to get involved in that.
but a
one.
community
is
is not a
15 Summer
sovereign
Street.
nation,
Is
right?
the old
And-
city hall.
Okay.
It's 3.76 miles from 2 Silver City Galleria Mall Drive.
Oh, that's all.
If you go Route 44, it's 6.35 miles.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to do as the crow flies.
But Mark's point could be a legitimate one, that there is no water agreement to provide water to a sovereign nation. And let it just hang out there.
Give them one more thing to think about. That's a good point Mark made.
Yep.
I had never thought of it before.
Didn't even cross my mind.
We're dying to,
Mark's
we're
point,
dying to get some money for the water that goes out of Lakeville somehow.
you know, the
we
other
don't
point-
give a shit
the other
how.
point Mark was making is that may, just the threat of that litigation or discovery or decisions could potentially affect investors.
Yeah, water is a pretty big deal to hotel,
True.
and a water park, per se.
So it would be a
So how to
it
phrase
wouldn't be a
it?
complex one. Mark,
How do
Mark.
we phrase it?
Mark, your ideas on how to phrase that there is no water agreement to provide to a sovereign nation.
Currently, we have no
Current-
provisions
current-
to
nation.
provide
to
water
another
to
Joe,
nation.
Joe
sovereign
was,
I wouldn't put
was
sovereign.
suggesting
I'd
you
put
pose it
another.
as a question.
Pose it as a question.
No, make it a statement.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
be emphatic about it, that gets our
Who
position,
gives a shit if it's true? None
Yeah.
of the politicians
Exactly.
check their,
Because
check their
exactly.
English.
you know.
Exactly.
Someone of the
Instead of
tribe's
saying
lawyers is
sovereign,
gonna
what was
say,
the
oh
word?
yeah, it doesn't pertain, but.
What was
He-
the word instead of
Instead of sovereign, he's talking about
Another
another
nation.
nation.
So you wanna say there's currently no agreement to allow
Yes.
water from,
From the Assawamsa Pond Complex in Lakeville
To another nation.
to
Yeah,
another nation,
to another nation.
period. and then just don't embellish it
There's
beyond.
no water
They
rights.
can't get land into trust until they become a sovereign nation, which is another country.
I think the Aquinas somewhat addressed that water could not be withheld to a sovereign nation either. But that's a different, I'm not gonna get into that, but we brought that up when we
It's
were
like
dealing with the Aquinas up on one
Right, it was
forty.
something
Yeah.
with the super water agreement.
And I think the water had to be provided to them. But I don't mind Mark's suggestion on the comment.
But
Nothing says okay,
say
we have to
either.
provide it. No one mentions anything about price.
There is
Right.
something about
Right.
super water rights, and if they have part of the water on theirs, they have basically
All the rights
all of
to
the
it,
water.
yeah,
See,
but I don't know.
Super water rights.
what does that mean?
Yeah.
If they
It's an-
have the
an-
water
for a
on their
reservation.
property, their rights superseded everyone else's.
They talked about doing deep water drilling up on the
Oh, I
AA
see.
Will property somehow to
Not
provide
supplied,
So if you
them
had-
water.
not necessarily supplied through a treatment.
No, no, no.
Oh.
But say, just for
Yeah.
instance, if it was on Assawamsett, all of a sudden they would be able to fish.
Gotcha.
They wouldn't have the same restrictions lifted on them because they would have super water rights.
Okay.
But I'm not, it didn't have anything about
That's a point that
how
no
it,
one's ever thought of.
how it goes on.
Super
about
water
the water.
rights?
Well, no,
Oh,
about their
this.
water rights.
Yeah. Oh,
I think
okay.
Maureen's right. It was
That was
addressed,
different, but,
and I guess we couldn't hold their feet to the fire, and they gave some explanation as to why. Who knows whether it's true?
Right.
You know, there's always two attorneys, that's how they make their money.
And I will say, one thing I have discovered traveling around the country is there's a lot of areas you go into where you find that tribes have ancestral water rights of fishing and canoeing and so forth. And you find the signs, no fishing except for, such and such a Indian tribe.
For sure.
Yeah.
They take the heron. The
Salmon-
heron comes right
salmon
out.
runs.
They don't
Yeah.
go by the local laws, they
Right.
can take all the heron they want.
Yep, yep.
Did
I
anyone,
think that's being challenged though because of that situation in Mattapoisett where that guy from down the Cape, I think he was part of the Mashpee, came in there and started filling up baskets of,
Yeah.
of cohogs. Remember that?
I do remember that.
And he said that he
It was the big argument, right.
Yeah. and
He was doing it on the beach, right?
Yeah, and then he shoved the shellfish warden and.
Yep, I remember that, yep.
That's still going through the courts, I
Yeah.
think.
He's probably right. If he is an Indian, if he truly is an Indian.
But he was getting that to sell, not for subsistence, it's a difference, if you're going out.
Right. It's
Getting-
allowed for subsistence.
Getting a half a bushel for your family versus going out and
selling
getting
it
8
is not,
bushels of
uh,
cohogs to
oh,
bring down to
okay.
Camp de France,
It's a
you know?
difference.
did anyone read the article in the Herald, was it 2 weeks ago? The Fall River Herald? I think it was the mayor. Was it the Fall River mayor or the New Bedford mayor? New Bedford mayor. And he went on to say of all the detriments of the casinos in the
Oh,
area.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
against it,
Yes,
oh, yeah.
yes.
Mitchell's
Yeah.
And I forgot the point he made, but the point was, why are these people, why would they think it would be economically viable for them to drive past 2 casinos on the way here
Yeah.
and all
Right.
that? And, the business that we're gonna get is gonna deteriorate, it's gonna be, a quick flash in the pan, and then we're gonna be left with all empty buildings because it's gonna be a first-time novelty, but then people aren't gonna wanna travel, when they have something closer, et cetera, et cetera.
You have the
There's a lot of really good
You have
points
the
in the
people
article.
for the casinos and against the casinos. If you took Palm Springs, which was the founding of the Indian casino
Yeah.
rights, basically. There are 3 other Indian casinos within a 10-mile circumference now. They're all busy.
Yeah.
They're all busy. Who the
But
hell
his
knows
biggest
why?
point that I really enjoyed reading, because it resonated, was the point that to create real wealth, you need to be able to have something to export.
You have
You need
to
a
make
product
something.
to export.
All
They
casinos
forgot
do
that in
is
this
change
country
money
when
around,
we
yeah.
sent everything
Yes.
to China.
Yeah.
You need a product to export, and a casino is not a product to export. You're taking from the very people that you should be giving jobs to.
I've been
Let's
saying
throw
that.
about Dunkin'
Been saying
Donuts.
that right
Let's
along.
throw about Dunkin' Donuts,
All
right.
casinos do
Yep.
is
Yep.
reallocate
Yep.
the
That
existing money
has-
supply.
yeah.
It's just a very, he put it very
Yep.
succinctly and
Yeah.
very well that
There's not
of
an
what,
extra dollar in circulation.
of what
But
that would do.
that's not anything we have.
Right,
control
right,
over. Yes,
right.
yes.
Right.
There's,
But
But
we
it would be an
understand that
economic-
concern, yeah.
Well, maybe we have a lot of degenerate gamblers in town. We need to watch out for them.
absolutely.
Well,
I guess we just go around the table and say, who'd want a casino
Well,
in Taunton?
you take a
I
look
don't
at the two big Connecticut
I follow it.
casinos, and they are slowly transitioning to other than casinos.
Right.
Most of the building they've been
Entertainment
doing, it's
venue,
entertainment,
Well-
performances, shopping venues,
Most of the income is not from the casinos
not
anymore.
from the
Right.
casinos.
It's from the shops.
But that we
I
have,
think
So I'll
some
make a
good points.
motion, can I make a motion?
please do.
That we take, that draft,
We'll distribute it and everybody can,
no, I'll send it to you.
Yep.
You'll revise it as we discussed.
and
we'll
distribute it.
follow along.
Let's start.
Get it done.
Good.
You can work on it till the cows come home. I think it's well done as it is.
Yeah, we don't have very many days
No.
left.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
it. Now,
Well
the
done.
next item on the agenda, is that,
Well, if you wanna vote
They
for
got
that,
seconded?
anybody second it?
John,
I
why don't we
second it.
vote?
You take a vote. John? You take a vote.
Yes,
All in favor? Jay?
Yeah, okay.
Aye.
Can I just ask a
Against?
question?
Questions?
The original letter we sent to our state reps, the mayor of Taunton, the Montanoa Tribe, Berkeley, Middleborough, Norton, Rainham, the MMA, and Serpent. Are we still, or are we just sending this to?
I
We're
would
just gonna
suggest
send it
we
off
just
to
have
where
the
it
key
goes.
card. Yeah, that's it.
we don't need to send it to anybody else.
Yeah, we're just generating more
You
paper
don't-
for
Right.
You didn't
everybody.
wanna send it to,
Question is left in there.
to
Did you send it
Crosby?
To all those other.
you didn't wanna send a copy of it to Crosby too?
To whom?
Well, that's what I'm
Crosby?
asking, who do you send
Oh,
it to?
Crosby, for sure.
I
No,
don't, I'd
I
like,
don't think so.
No?
I think we're just sending it to, who's that, the BIA, right?
That was, I thought, the intent
That's the
of
Yeah.
deadline.
of
is
responding to
to-
the,
yeah, that's,
Yes, but wouldn't you want to copy Crosby?
no, I don't, well, maybe, but I
Okay.
don't see the need to.
Okay. He'll end up getting a copy of it anyway, right?
He would get
Yeah.
the same thing under 12.2,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Why not Kiko though? Because she's.
I would keep them, yeah,
Yeah.
as a courtesy.
Yep.
Send to Broderick.
Yep.
Okay.
Feel supported.
What's the next item?
Approved minutes for the December 2nd meeting.
Christine,
Yes.
do you have the minutes up
Um,
for December 2nd?
You- They're, they're
I'm
attached.
sorry,
They're
They're
attached.
right here. Yes,
In the first bold-faced heading, it says Mashpee Wampanoag Trice.
Oh,
Should be tried, just mind the thing. And the top of the next page, third line down, quoting me, you have the word anecdotal. It's
Anecdotal.
anecdotal, yeah. It's a completely different word.
trying to get rid of that poison.
Joe, I'm
Yes,
not gonna,
yeah, I know.
Joe, I'm not gonna have you proofread anything the town says. Come on now. You're too well
Pick up all
educated.
our malaprops.
Yeah, malapropism, think for fun reading. That was it. Other than that, I had no other comments.
I'll move to approve the minutes of, December 2nd, 2013 with the correction.
anyone second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstentions, I think, Scott and John.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there.
Oh.
either.
You were there in spirit.
You weren't there. You can't.
You're
You can't
welcome.
vote.
I did, that's why I didn't.
Aren't you lucky? Okay.
Which
Is
meeting
there
did you
any-
just approve? December 2nd? Said I was there, no?
December 2nd.
No, you
Yeah.
weren't
You weren't
I
here.
think
Yeah,
it says
you
it
weren't
was.
there.
Oh,
You weren't at
members
the meeting.
absent,
Yeah.
yes.
Do we have any old business?
Yes.
Just other business.
Other business. Any,
Nelson had brought up, the point of the number of members on the committee.
yes.
Yes.
And I had talked to Scott and John about this. I went back to the original chart, which I into it. The building commissioner is no longer on it, so now that's 14. But have the selectmen vote on a new charge and then make us a full committee.
Yeah, if I could, my only comment is initially the Aquino were the hot subject of the
Right,
day.
and
There's
now,
obviously a lot more interest
Yeah.
than what we're dealing with, this,
now it's been very
imaginary
difficult to get the quorum,
target. So
so,
there should be some reduction of that, so we don't have to fight for a quorum every time we're trying to get a meeting.
Well, the 3 selectmen were originally on,
Yes.
Yeah.
One of us.
so all
Right.
we need is 1.
Because it was
Probably
gonna
only
be in
one.
Lakeville.
We'll talk about that at our meeting.
I mean, do you wanna redo it now, or, I mean, the only time that you're, I don't know, maybe the only time you're gonna meet in the future is when the land is into trust, if in fact it ever makes it that far. Then things may heat up, but you might not meet again for another umpteen years, I don't know, what do you people think?
Well, I think that's also, John, part of the problem is we don't have
don't know.
a charge that's continuing, ongoing, where we can see improvement, see action based
Yep.
on our
Right.
reaction.
Right.
So you get this,
It goes into hibernation for a
Yeah.
number of
It's a
years, it could be a
never-
number of years now.
right,
and then if you got 15 on there and you're trying to get a quorum,
Right.
it's very difficult.
Right.
Yeah, anything below the quorum when we are called, that will help,
Yes.
Well, do you, I guess, we're back to that, do you wanna vote on reducing the number of
Well,
members?
can we do that to our own?
No, you
No.
can
Can
make a
we-
recommendation.
We can make
to-
recommendations, we can do
Yes.
that, you guys have to
The
do that.
selectmen
Yes,
can.
Select
we're gonna
that.
do that at the next meeting, but, obviously there's people that can't make it on a regular basis.
Well, just as a suggestion, maybe someone could go through the minutes and see who hasn't been to any meetings since the Aquino issue was put to bed.
Rita did that,
And maybe just do a elimination if you haven't been for 5 meetings, I don't know how
Not
many we've had.
reappoint 'em.
Yeah.
Just, take them off the committee.
And what is the situation with, so-called virtual meetings now where you can attend through
We didn't allow it.
Skype? You don't allow it?
We
Law
did-
provides for it though, right?
Yes, but we didn't vote for it.
Okay,
We didn't ratify it.
okay.
Well, if you take away 2 selectmen and the building commissioner now, it would be down to 12. We have 6 at-large, at the time the selectmen, and finance, John's the finance committee member, Joe's Concom. Eric Levitt I talked to tonight, originally the ZBA had a member on it. The selectmen don't want to, the selectmen talk about that, but at the time, the board of selectmen felt that all the different boards in town should have representation.
Well,
Planning
again-
board member, which Brian Hope, I think, has been to 2 maybe meetings, but he travels a lot. An open space member and 6 at-large.
So do away with
Frank
2
Muzio hasn't been able to attend
do-
several.
do away with him, do away with Brian, do away with 2 selectmen and the building commission. That gets it down.
It makes it easier.
And it can change back up if there's any activity.
Selectmen can add it.
You can change it if they start to build and
So you
Crosby
guys will do
starts
that at
to
your next
ask.
meeting.
We can do it at the
Which is
next
next Monday.
meeting. So getting rid of 2, 3, 4,
The,
5 people, I think, Rita.
The following,
Down
that
to
true?
10,
Four
I
of the
think would be
at-large
good.
that are here tonight.
27.
And most of the
Yes. Yes.
And Dan Coon, actually, Dan Cooney had emailed me that he was gonna make it tonight. Dan attends quite a few, but he didn't show up. So maybe they decided to change.
What would be the process if you're reducing the at-large members to determine who gets cut and who stays?
It would be the board of
Board of
selectmen.
Selectmen would just throw out names?
Right, right. But I think we talked about Brian, the building commissioner, and 2 selectmen go.
But
So that's at least 4.
does the planning board wanna send someone else representing the planning board?
We've always have a problem trying to get members of the
No,
planning board
no.
to
No, wouldn't, right.
sign
We
up.
can always get them to go if something happens.
What about the open space? Did you take that
I'm
up?
on open
Are you
space.
gonna do
I
that?
can be the
You're on open space, okay.
Rita, why don't you just poll the people that can't make the meeting on a regular basis and see if
Yeah.
they'll resign? Make it easier.
Or if they still have an actual interest and for some reason or other
Yeah.
can't make it. But if you've missed 3 or 4 in a row, you're de facto no longer on the committee. Yes, yeah, you're on waivers, right, yeah.
We were just annual
I wonder where the
appointments,
hell are
right?
those
Yes.
December things?
There was a lot.
any other items to be discussed?
So it's just this committee wants to put a recommendation forward, the selectmen just
To reduce.
have it an agenda item,
Yeah.
to say we were at the meeting.
Well, I think you get the spirit of the committee, right?
Make a motion to reduce the number of selectmen by 2, eliminate the building commissioner, the planning board member, and 2 at-large members? Is that what we just
Maybe
said?
not give
From
us
this
specific,
committee.
just to take a look at the, reduce the number of members.
That's it.
I'll second that.
Why don't you have a committee of 8
8?
or 7?
Here we go.
An odd number tends to
9?
work better.
Well,
9?
even 10,
You're out of
your
control.
quorum,
9. Have a committee of 9. How's that?
Okay,
and then you need a quorum of
5.
someone wanna make a a motion?
Well, you just did.
Well, I think
Oh,
I'm changing it
To
to
just
be.
Changing
reduce
it,
it
okay.
to,
It's just a
Make
recommendation.
recommendation to the selectmen that the, casino advisory committee consists of 9 members.
That's what I would
Good.
do.
Second?
now is this something we make a motion?
Yeah, we vote.
Yes.
Yep, you vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Second, yes. Against?
Opposed? None?
Okay. Any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Bob's gotta go, 8 o'clock.
Yes.
All those in favor,
You're
aye.
Aye.
going to Thomas Day drink, where you going?
It's good to have
Gallo.
a deadline,
Where?
isn't it?
Gallo,
Who's that?
born.
Born.
I got 3 grandsons, they're all